Hi everyone, welcome back to Homegrown Handmade. I'm Allison and today we are back in my kitchen. Today I wanted to try to make some homemade mozzarella, so that's what we're gonna do. I thought I'd take you all along with me. So let me show you what we need to get started and then we will make the mozzarella. All right, so the recipe that I'm using calls for 2 gallons of raw milk. In addition to the 2 gallons of raw milk, you'll need a really large stock pot, which I have here, some citric acid that I'm going to dissolve in water, some liquid rennet that I'm also going to dissolve in water, a really high quality digital thermometer. I personally like the digital because I find it easier to read, make sure that my readings are very accurate. And then this recipe in particular is a little unique. A lot of the recipes I've seen online call for like taking the curds and popping them in the microwave to get them so that you can stretch them into your cheese. But this particular recipe calls for putting some salt in water, making like a brine, and then you pop it in a pot, and then you actually do your stretching in using that hot salt water instead of using the microwave, which I actually kind of liked because I try to use my microwave as little as possible. And so I thought this sounded like a really cool way to make the cheese. So we're gonna try it out today. Let's get started. First, I'm gonna start by dissolving 3 teaspoons of citric acid into 1 cup of cold water. Once that's fully dissolved, I'm going to pour both gallons of milk into my large stock pot. Next, I'll clip my thermometer to my pot and mix in my citric acid. Once my milk reaches 88 to 90 degrees, I'm going to mix in 1/4 teaspoon of liquid rennet that was dissolved in 1/4 cup of cold water. I'm going to remove my pot from the heat as I mix it in. Meanwhile, I'll dissolve 1/2 cup of salt in 3 quarts of water. Next, I'll cut my curds from my whey using a sharp knife and cutting into 1/2-inch cubes. This was a little tricky because the curds kept moving around like you can see, but it ended up working out fine in the end. Next, I'm going to cook my curds by stirring gently and bringing the temperature up to about 110 degrees. I'm going to do this over high heat, which took about 3 to 4 minutes. Once my curds reach 110 degrees, I'm going to separate them from the whey by pouring through a colander. I'm going to make sure as much of the whey is removed before I put my cheese into a stainless steel bowl. And now for the last and probably most difficult step of the whole thing. I'm going to add that hot salt water to my cheese and then allow it to heat up. I'm going to pull it out and stretch it almost like taffy into a rope. And I'll be honest, I don't know what this is supposed to look like, so I did my best based on the instructions that I had. The water was around 185 degrees and it was so hot and so difficult to work with. Next, I did my best to break off small pieces of cheese and shape them into dinner roll size balls. Okay, so my mozzarella is more or less done. I've tried to shape it into little balls as I put it into the container here. And then they just kind of flop down into this big plop that you see right here. So I'm going to try, now that they've cooled off a little bit, again, to stretch them and get them into that kind of nice ball shape that we associate with mozzarella. Get the bottom a little bit wet here and then pinch it off, and then there you have it, at least in theory. I'm gonna keep working with these and seeing if I can get it to soften up enough, or if I can get them to shape nicely. That's the only thing I didn't really pay attention to, was a video or anything on how to shape my mozzarella. And so that's kind of where I'm struggling more or less now, but I'm just trying to pinch off the ends by dipping them in the hot water and then going from there. But it has, you can see it has a really nice stretch. I don't know if you can see how beautiful that is. But so far it seems like a success, which makes me really happy because, man, I've done a lot of things lately that have been fails. And so it feels really nice to have done something that turned out in the way it was supposed to. So I'm gonna continue kind of pinching off the bottoms of these right now. And then when the water cools down, I'm gonna pour that saltwater brine over the mozzarella that I have here. It's still really hot. That water was 185 degrees. So it's pretty hot. They recommend putting like wearing gloves or something, and I would, in the future, I would definitely use that. It's very hot, and so it's hard to work with because the cheese is just like a big hot melty mess. But yeah, I'm kind of excited. It looks like I've gotten 6 balls of mozzarella about this big, so about, I don't know what that would be, maybe like a half a cup or so. Probably like the size that it said in my my recipe that I was using to make them the size of dinner rolls, and so that's what I'm doing. But again, I don't really have any like rhyme or reason on how to shape them correctly. I'm just kind of doing a best guess, trying to keep stretching in one direction as I fold them on top of each other. This is a pretty messy process too. As you can probably see, there's like salty cheese water all over my kitchen, so I'm gonna have to do some cleanup afterwards. But all that being said, I'm gonna call this a success. We're gonna try to use it maybe for making like some lasagna or some pizza or something like that. I'm gonna use the whey that I got off of making this cheese also to make a ricotta, so that whey won't go to waste. It's kind of neat as I'm learning a little bit more and more about dairy. There's a lot of things that you can do to prevent waste. So anyways, I'm gonna call it a day right here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are interested in more content like this, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Emma's saying no in the background, but please do. Please hit the like and subscribe button and the bell for notifications. That way you can be notified every time I post a new video. Thanks for joining me. Take care.